It's a subject author James Boyce is passionate about, Tasmania and its history. The critics say he brings a fresh perspective to the topic, one that explores the ingenuity of the state's first European settlers. Fiona Breen caught up with the historian at his Hobart home to find out more.
For James Boyce, his daily walk through the bush behind West Hobart is good thinking time, and more often than not, it proves to be very fruitful.
In the mornings, quite funny really, I'll go for a walk with the dog up in Knocklofty, and every second morning I'll come back and I'll just start jotting down thoughts. There'll be a thought there and I have to write it down.
The historian and author takes his notes and wanders down to a unique office at the bottom of the garden.
I can do quite a bit of work in there actually now, because since I've got that. Before I was working in the house and that was more limited, but still for the hard writing I need to go away.
A small retro caravan done up by a friend provides the perfect space to get on with some of his latest research.
For me to write in any sort of serious way, and it does sound very indulgent, but I do need to just be by myself and I need to be able to talk to those dead folk with a bit of privacy.
The caravan office is replicated on another piece of land in the state's south. The caravans are the headquarters of James Boyce's writings. We're a melting pot of historical ideas, research and musings come together. Most recently in the book 1835, and before that the book Van Diemen's Land. Much of the information is sourced from a treasure trove of historical documents. There's
a lot of writing about Tasmania. There's a lot of newspapers. We've got early 1830s, we've got 6 newspapers. It's a very active sort of society. It's been observed a lot, and it's also very well documented because convicts all have records on them. A lot of the hills are much barer.
Some critics have described James Boyce's historical writings on Tasmania as a fresh perspective. He says it's an account of the true history of early European settlement in Tasmania.
The Australian history is overwhelmingly been shaped by the early experience in New South Wales, and Tasmania has then been used as an example of those themes. Once you start the story in Tasmania, once you focus on that first, you see that a lot of those themes don't fit. Yeah, it's a beautiful punch.
It's a story of adaptation to the environment, when Hobart was nothing like a little Britain.
Basically, these colonists were on their own, and so how did they survive? They survived off the bush. But rather than this being a sort of grim battle for survival, as I expected, there was food aplenty, and the key was the speed with which they adapted to the environment. And you find within 2 years of British settlement, convicts are living year-round independently in the bush, with nothing more than a dog, not a gun, just a dog.
It was in the years later that the rich grazing lands of Tasmania became such a battleground. So this is what it was all about?
Yeah, this is what all the fuss is about. Look at the beautiful country. The British would always describe it as park-like because it reminded them of their own parks. Well-watered. It was grassy woodland, not just pure grassland, so there was trees interspersed, but scattered and clumps of trees. Absolutely beautiful landscape, all set up, managed by the Aborigines, developed by the Aborigines, all set up for sheep.
He examines the interaction with Aborigines and the eventual deportation to Flinders Island.
This is the meeting which depicts the ends of the fighting in Tasmania. And then after they've had this meeting up near Lake Echo in the Central Highlands, they walk down with Robinson into Bothwell. They've been promised a meeting with the British Governor, and they have that meeting with Governor Arthur in Hobart, and then they await for the ship to Flinders Island.
In his second book, The Land Grab moved from Tasmania to the mainland and looks at the founding of Melbourne, the opening up of Australia, to what he describes as one of the fastest land occupations in history.
Within 10 years, they have moved thousands of kilometres from Harvey Bay to Wilson's Promontory. All the areas where the vast majority of European Australians live now were colonised in 15 years after 1835.
James Boyce's fascination with Tasmanian history continues, but for now he's on another path. His next book is due out early next year.
And it's something very different, but there are continuities. It's a history of the doctrine of original sin. Its working title is Born Bad, Original Sin and the Creation of the Western World. And some people think, oh, that's not a Tasmanian history. Sure it's not. Tasmania doesn't get any more share of original sin than the rest of the Western world.